June. Gotta close out the little notification that things are recording, and here we go. I am really excited to be here today to talk about the gift of open source. It's our second annual Pantheon sponsored open source contribution event. Real quick before I get started, my name is Katie Richards. I am a community coordinator at Pantheon, so I'm one of the folks on our community team who works with our customers, people who aren't even our customers, to get more acquainted with Drupal, open source, WordPress, the Pantheon product, all of the above. My pronouns are she and her. I go by KJ Richards on basically every form of social media. So if you're looking for me later, that's where I am. I'm KTJ Richards on Drupal.org. And if I'm not at the computer, I enjoy hanging out with my family, reading, and old houses and historic architecture. So I just lifted this quote straight off the landing page for the Gift of Open Source event. And it says, at Pantheon, we deeply believe in the open web that allows people anywhere to create, innovate, solve problems, and send that work out into the world. There we go. The potential of the open web is limitless and everyone can be a part of it. But not everybody knows they can be a part of it. And not everybody knows where they can be the most effective or useful. And one of the reasons why we started the Gift of Open Source was to tackle those questions. The Gift of Open Source is a free annual challenge hosted by Pantheon that takes place throughout the month of December. One more slide back, 2 more slides back. Thank you. The purpose of the event is to inspire, educate, encourage, and contribute back to the open source projects that we all love the most, and that really give Pantheon its business. Whether you're contributing code back to Drupal or WordPress, helping diversify speaker rosters at events, working on improving documentation, or supporting accessibility initiatives, there are so many ways to get involved in open source projects. In the spirit of inclusivity, this event's open to everyone. Not everybody has a technical background, and that is okay because not only technical skills are needed on the open web. Like last year for this event, the first 300 people to register and participate will receive a limited edition Gift of Open Source shirt. So you don't want to delay registering for the event. And I have links for resources and registration and all that kind of stuff at the end. Next slide, please. And it's not just encouraging other folks to contribute back to open source. We have actually worked with our team to, well, let's start that over. If we're going to reach our goal of hitting 500 contributions during this event, we are going to donate money back to both the WordPress Foundation and the Drupal Association. It is going to be, if we hit 500, it will be 5,000 per each, but it's like prorated, I guess, it might be the word I want to use. So 100 contributions would be 1,000 to each, 200 would be 2,000 each, and so on. So every contribution that folks make, even especially if you're already planning on contributing during the month of December, like let's add a couple more dollars into that pot. Next slide, please. And this year, a new part of the event is the 12 Days of Giving campaign on Twitter. And we are giving away all sorts of tech gadgets on Twitter just because we want to, and because we wanted to try it and see what happened. So we've got 12, I think, different gadgets. So every day, our corporate handle, the Twitter account @GetPantheon, is going to tweet something and then give instructions for what kinds of interaction they want to qualify to win what the day's thing. Today's was the first day. It's going from December 1st to December 12th. And today's, I believe, is a Bluetooth speaker of some sort. And it was following the account, liking the tweet, and sharing it. So everyone will get a chance to do that. And if you are one of the lucky winners, you can get a Twitter DM from someone on the team within 48 to 72 hours. And then enjoy it, follow up with them and enjoy your new gadget. Next slide, please. Like I said earlier, everyone can participate regardless of contribution experience or technical know-how. For a long time, I didn't have an accurate idea of how many different skills are involved in maintaining and advancing open source projects like WordPress or Drupal. The only way to support the projects I knew were through development or design work, because those are the people that I knew that had the skills to contribute back. Turns out I was very wrong. Through Goose last year, Gift of Open Source last year, I learned that my skills of organization and editing, the written and spoken word, were very helpful. And so I joined a group who is working on encouraging and mentoring new speakers from underrepresented groups to speak at WordPress events. And so that sometimes means showing up at meetings, sometimes means writing documentation, sometimes that means contacting a bunch of people on Slack. So those are skills that many of us have because we use them in our day-to-day work. So it'd be really fun to use those for other purposes as well. One of our goals for this event was to provide resources and suggestions for folks of all backgrounds and familiarity with open source contribution. So I have a link on the last slide that contains our post about recommendations. The project maintainers that have contacted us about getting their project listed and advertised as ready for contribution is on there too. So if you're never contributed to an open source project, we have stuff for you. We've got a series of workshops that Amy June gave last year during Gift of Open Source that are focused on Drupal contribution from the ground up. So how to work through an open issue, how to understand how to write documentation, how to get involved in ways that aren't code. If you're an experienced contributor, we have that list of people and projects who are ready for you. And if you're a project maintainer, we've got instructions for you as well. Next slide, please. And hey, you can register today. Today is the first day. Today is December 1st. The challenge runs December 1 through 31. And any contribution that comes in after midnight Pacific on January 1st doesn't count, which is a bummer. So don't be the person who misses it by minutes. Register and send in your stuff today. And these I'll post the link to the slides again in the chat. This is the link for the resources, which is just a collection of forum posts that are super helpful about for project maintainers, for new contributors, how to register, following us on Twitter, joining the Pantheon Slack or forum to ask questions or get involved in that way. And then this bottom link is something that I found like 15 minutes ago. And I was really excited that one of my teammates sent it over. It's a really amazing, like little over 1 page PDF of like everything you need to know about Gift of Open Source, how to get involved, how to register, how to send your contributions in for credit. All those things are all on that bottom sheet. So bit.ly link that's everything -goose minus the E. And that's it. That's as formal as I get. So I will happily answer any and all questions that y'all have, but also super happy to just hang out.
Is it, I've got a question. Is it just Drupal or WordPress, or can like Emulsify commit or Gatsby, things like that,
Yes,
be included as well? Okay.
It is any open source project that uses some sort of open source license.
And so if they don't have like a ticketing system like Track or or the Drupal issue queue, you would just take a screenshot
just take
of your contribution?
We've got a place for you to either share a link if there's something linkable to prove that you contributed. Last year, I think I took screenshots of like the title line and the first few sentences of the video transcript that I edited. So there are lots of different ways to prove and show us that you did something without it having to be a link to a track ticket or what have you.
And I remember last year we mostly communicated in the Pantheon forums.
Yes.
Is that
we're trying something different this year. It was wonderful to see everybody's comments on the forum, but it got really messy and difficult to count and track. And we didn't want to risk not counting somebody's contribution correctly because it was convoluted and there were 4 different people and the threaded replies were bisecting people's comments. So we actually have a form link to send those in this year, and I can look that up.
And I saw that and I tested it this afternoon, but I was more curious about communication between people. Is that going to be happening in the forum?
There is a section on the Pantheon forum. It's discuss.pantheon.io. That is for Gift of Open Source 2021. So any questions, if you have a project that you are a maintainer for that you'd like folks to contribute to, you can post in there to let people know. Questions, concerns, can't find your email that had the link for the submission form, we got you.
And do you have spaces in the Drupal and WordPress Slack too, or just through the forums?
We do not.
Okay.
And that is definitely something that we should think about for next year. Our biggest concern about spreading out channels of communication is that we will lose some of the folks who are trying to send in contributions in any way other than the official way.
Sure.
If I start getting form submissions or emails to me saying, hey, can you count this? But it's not on my database. I don't know what to do.
Right, right. I was just wondering about, sometimes it's easier for some folks to communicate with something that they, not like necessarily communicate their contributions, but communicate with collaborators and like people to post links and things like that. But I think the Pantheon forum is pretty accessible, right? You just have to register. Okay.
Yep. And you can read without registering. You don't need to register until you want to make comments or likes or replies or anything. So
okay.
It's very low barrier for your first interactions. And then we can also do, old-fashioned email if folks want to bounce ideas off of us. And we've had a couple of questions come in through our community@pantheon.io email, and someone's always watching that and answering questions there too.
Right. Okay, with that,
I do have actually one more. I have a question. Is
I would love to answer.
If it any for anything including our own projects, as long as they're open sourced, like on Drupal.org or in GitHub where they're publicly available and made.
Yeah, we haven't drawn a line for maintainers contributing to their own projects, and I know that for folks who are maintainers, they tend to be maintaining more than one project. And it's hard to find the time to do all of the things. So if Gift of Open Source motivates you to set some time apart to work on a specific open source project, then go for it.
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.